Okay, we are going to work through all of these for your quarter test, which is tomorrow. And I'm going to work every problem on here so you'll have a solution to everything you need. All right, so we're going to start with solving equations. So for on this first guy here, we're going to have to distribute this 6 to be able to solve. So I'm going to distribute, I don't want white. I'm going to distribute 6 into this equation. I'm going to have 36v plus 36 minus 5 equals 1 plus 6v. Okay, from there, I'm going to combine my like terms. Okay, so I'm going to put 36 minus 5 in my calculator. I don't want red. Okay, and that's going to give me 36v plus 31 equals 1 plus 6v. Okay, from there I'm going to subtract 1 from both sides. You have 36v plus 30 equals 6v. Okay, I got to get my variables on one side, my numbers on the other. So I'm going to subtract 36v from both sides. And I'm going to have 30 equals negative 30v. I'm going to divide both sides by negative 30. And I'm going to get v equals negative 1. Okay, on number 2, I got to get this variable by itself. First thing I'm going to move is I'm going to add 5 to the other side. I'm going to have a over 2 equals 14. Right here I've got a fraction. I don't like a fraction, so to undo division, I'm going to multiply both sides by 2. These 2's are going to cancel, and I'm going to have a equals 28. All right, 3 looks really similar, but instead of an equation, it's an inequality. So same deal, I'm going to distribute first. I'm going to have 18b minus 3 is greater than 18 minus 3b. I got to get my variables on one side and my numbers on another. So I'm going to add 3b over. And I'm going to have 21b minus 3 is greater than 18. From here, I'm going to add 3 to both sides. And I'm going to have 21b is greater than 21. Divide both sides by 21. And you're going to have b is greater than 1. Okay, from here, I've got to graph this on the number line. So I'm going to put 1 on my number line. I have to decide if this is open or closed. Because there's not a line underneath it, it's going to be open. And this says b is greater than 1, so I'm going to draw it to the right because that is greater than. All right. Looking at number 4, this is an and inequality. So when I graph them, they should be going towards each other. I'm going to solve both of these and then graph them on my number line. So I'm going to add 3 to both sides. And I'm going to have 2x is less than 10. I'm going to divide both sides by 2. And I'm going to have x is less than 5. Over here, I still have to get that x by itself. So I'm going to subtract 5 from both sides. And I'm going to have negative x is less than or equal to 3. This negative, I can go ahead and make that a negative 1. I have to get that x by itself. So I'm going to divide both sides by a negative. I'm dividing by a negative, so you have to flip the sign. Okay, so I'm going to have x is greater than or equal to 3. I'm going to come put both of these numbers on my number line. 3 comes first, then 5. Okay, 3 has a line underneath it, so it's going to be closed. And it's going to be greater than, so it's going to be going towards. 5 does not have a line, so it's going to be open then, and it's less than, so it's going to be going this way. And you want them to go towards each other, which they're doing, so that means I'm good to go. All right, 5, we've got an absolute value inequality. And the same thing we got to do, really important, you have to get the bars alone. So I'm going to add 3 to the over here first to get these bars alone. And I'm going to have the absolute value of x minus 4 is less than 8. Now that the bars are alone, we're going to split this into 2 problems. One is going to be positive, and one's going to be negative. So I'm going to have x minus 4 is less than 8. And then we have x minus 4 is greater than negative 8. Then we're just going to solve both of these. Add 4 to both sides. X is less than 12. Add 4 here. X is greater than negative 4. I've got to come put these on my number line. Negative 4 comes first. 12 second. Both of these are going to be an open circle because there's not a line underneath them. 12 is less than, so it's going to the left. Negative 4 is greater than, so it's going to the right. And I need the word and right here. All right. Other thing about absolute value on number 6, same idea. You have to get the bars alone. Okay, so when I do this, my bars are already by themselves. Once they're alone, you're going to split it into 2 equations. So I'm going to set negative 2r minus 1 equal to positive 11. And then I'm going to set negative 2r minus 1 equal to negative 11. Okay, over here I'm going to add 1 to both sides. Negative 2r equals 12. Divide both sides by a negative 2. I'm going to get r equals negative 6. Over here, same deal. I'm going to add 1 to both sides. We have a negative 2r equals negative 10. Divide both sides by a negative 2. And you're going to have r equals 5. All right, number 7, we have to get the bars alone. Right now, these bars are not alone. So I'm going to start by moving this 5. I'm going to subtract 5 from both sides. And I'm going to have negative 8 is less than negative 2n equals, put that in your calculator, you should get a negative 80. All right, this negative 8 is being held on by multiplication. To undo multiplication, I'm going to divide both sides by a negative 8. These guys are going to cancel, and I'm going to have the absolute value of negative 2n is equal to 10. Now that the bars are alone, I'm going to split this into 2 equations. I'm going to set it equal to a positive 10, and I'm going to set it equal to a negative 10. From here, we're going to divide both sides by a negative 2, and you're going to have n equals negative 5. Same thing over here, divide both sides by a negative 2, and you're going to have n equals positive 5. All right, same idea on number 8. I got to move this 3 first. I'm going to subtract 3 from both sides, and I'm going to have negative 8x minus 6 equals 0. Okay, if I wanted to, I could come in here and make this a negative 1. I'm going to divide both sides by a negative 1. Those are going to cancel, and I'm going to have 8x minus 6 equals 0. All right, 0 is either positive or negative, so instead of having 2 answers on this, I'm just going to have 1. And I'm going to add 6 to both sides. 8x equals 6, divide by 8, and you're going to end up with x equals 3 over 4, or 0.75. All right, looking at number 9, we need to graph this line, okay? This is my y-intercept. This is my slope. So I'm going to start at negative 3 on the y-axis. I'm going to go up 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, over 1, 2, 3. Up 1, 2, 3, 4, over 1, 2, 3. Okay, connect your dots. You need 3 arrows, and then we're just going to double check. When I trace this from left to right, this line is increasing, which I want it to be increasing because my slope is positive. Okay. All right, on number 10, I'm going to go in and add some missing information. So I'm going to change this to y equals negative 1x plus, there's nothing out here, so I'm going to put a 0. If I want to make this a fraction, I can put it a negative 1 over 1. I'm going to start at 0. I'm going to go down 1, right 1, down 1, right 1. Or I could go up 1, left 1. Connect your dots. Okay, and then I'm going to go check it. From left to right, if I trace this from left to right, this line is decreasing, which I want it to be decreasing because I have a what kind of slope? Negative slope. All right, number 11, I've got x equals -1. This is a vertical line because this is a Buck's equation. So I'm going to go to -1 on the x-axis, and I'm going to draw a vertical line. All right, flip over. All right, this was the big kicker that got a lot of people on their test. Okay, on number 12, I have to find the slope. First thing we need to do is label this x1, y1, x2, y2. I'm going to have y2 minus y1, so -8 minus 4 over -6 minus 2. When you put this in your calculator, you're going to get a slope of 3/2. So that is my slope. Now I'm going to write it in point slope, which is y minus y1 equals mx minus x1. All right, so when I rewrite this, I'm going to have y minus, my y1 is 4, equals, m is your slope, so 3/2, parentheses, x minus, my x1 is 2. All right, to get to slope intercept, I'm going to have to distribute. Okay, and I'm going to have y minus 4 equals 3/2x minus 3. Okay, I have to get this y by itself, so now I'm going to add 4 to both sides. And I'm going to end up with y equals 3/2x. Your slope should not change. And then -3 plus 4, that's a -1. Now I'm in slope-intercept form. Okay, to get to standard form, two things. X and y have to be together. And number 2, no fractions. All right, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to move this 3/2. I'm going to move it by subtracting it. And when I rewrite this, I'm going to have a -3/2x plus y equals -1 because I can't put those together. They're not like terms. Now, to have no fractions, I'm going to multiply everything by my denominator, which is 2. And when I do that, I'm going to end up with a -3x plus 2y equals -1. All right, last thing it wants me to find, my x-intercept and my, I made a mistake, not a -1. That should be a -2. All right, I got to find my x-intercept and my y-intercept. To find your x-intercept, you're going to get rid of your y, so you're going to set -3x equal to -2. You're going to divide both sides by a -3, and you're going to have your x-intercept is 2/3, 0. To find my y-intercept, I'm going to set 2y equal to -2, divide both sides by 2, and I'm going to have my y-intercept is -1, which, if you did not know how to do this, you could at least get your y-intercept because these two guys match. You could pull it from slope-intercept form. All right, same thing over here, okay? I got to find my slope. I'm given 2 points, but they kind of wrote them in... Oh, never mind, they straight up gave it to me. Okay, so find your slope. First thing you need to do is label your points. x1, y1, x2, y2. So I'm going to have 10 minus 0 over 0 minus 5. You should get -2. So my slope is a -2. Now I'm going to write it in point slope form. When I write this, I'm going to have y minus my y1 is 0 equals, m is my slope, so -2, parentheses, x minus your x1 is 5. All right, to get it to slope intercept, we have to get rid of these parentheses, so I'm going to distribute. I'm going to have y minus 0 equals -2x plus 10. We go y minus 0 is just y, so I'm going to have y equals -2x plus 10. All right, standard form. X and y have to be together. And secondly, no fractions. All right, so let's move this to the other side. So I'm going to add 2x to the other side. I cannot put these together, so I'm going to have 2x plus y equals 10. I don't have any fractions, so I'm good to go. So that is my answer in standard form. All right, to find your x-intercept, you're going to set 2x equal to 10. Divide both sides by 2, and you get x equals 5. Remember, you have to write that as a point. To find your y-intercept, you could do two things. You could look right here and see that, oh, it already gave me my y-intercept. I solved for it, and it's 10. Okay, if you did not know that off the top of your head, all you're going to do is come set this y equal to 10. It's already solved for you, so I get a y-intercept of 10. All right, to figure out if these are parallel, perpendicular, or neither, I need to look at the slope. All right, this guy already gave me a slope of -1/3. This guy, I've got to get to slope intercept. Right now it's in standard, and I got to get it to slope intercept. So I've got 3x plus y equals 5. I'm going to subtract 3x from both sides. And I'm going to have y equals -3x plus 5. I've got a slope of -3, okay? They're not parallel, because parallel would have the same slope. These are not the same. So I can say they're not parallel. They're not perpendicular, because they have to be opposite reciprocals. So you would have to flip this and change the sign. They did flip it, but they did not change the sign, so this would be neither. All right, for number 15, I need to write the equation of a line that passes through 1, 1 and is perpendicular. So I need to start with point slope. Okay, I've got a point. It's 1, 1. I need a slope, but it wants it to be perpendicular. So I got to figure out what's perpendicular to 2. I've got to flip it and change the sign. So I'm going to use a slope of -1/2. That would be perpendicular. So now I'm going to write it in point slope form. So I'm going to have y minus 1 equals -1/2 x minus 1. And I can stop, because it didn't say anything about slope intercept. So you could stop right there, or you could keep going and distribute. All right, last section. I got to figure out if this is a function or not, and I have to list the domain and the range. Well, y'all, your domain is x, your range is y, and these have to be listed from least to greatest. All right, remember it goes x, y. So when I list my domain, I'm going to start with my smallest x, so -7, then -3, then -2, 4, 6. All right, when I list my range, that's going to be my y's. So I got to start with my smallest y, which it looks like is -1. Then next would come 0, then 1, then 4, then 7. All right, the rule for a function is that x cannot repeat. None of my x's repeat, so yes, this is a function. All right, number 17, I got to write my domain and range. So your domain is x, your range is y. I'm going to list them from least to greatest. -1, 0, 6, 7. I don't have to list this twice. Your range is your y from least to greatest. So we're going to start with -7, -3, -2, and 2. Okay? The rule for a function is that x cannot repeat. Those zeros repeat, so this is not a function. All right, on this guy right here, my domain is -infinity to +infinity, and the range is the lowest to the highest, so that's going to be -2 to infinity. And yes, this is a function, because if I draw a vertical line, it only passes it once. All right, flip. Okay, I've got one of each of these. I'm going to find f of 4. I'm going to substitute 4 into the function. So I'm going to have -2 parentheses 4 squared plus 4. When I put that in my calculator, you should get negative 28. All right, on this guy, I'm going to put 3 into both these functions, and then I'm going to subtract. So I'm going to have parentheses, oops, that's not what I want. 3 plus 3, which gives me 6. And then right here, I'm going to have negative parentheses 3 plus 4, which gives me 1. I got to subtract, so I'm going to do 6 minus 1, which gives me 5. All right, on number 21, you have to go from inside to outside. When I start on the inside, G is going to go into the 4 function first. So I'm going to have negative 3 parentheses 4 squared plus 5. When I put that into my calculator, you should get negative 43. Now that's got to go into my F function, so I'm going to have 4 parentheses negative 43 minus 1, and you should get negative 173. All right, number 22, I got to write a function rule. So I need a start and a rate of change. My start is 3. Okay, because that's when my x is 0. And my rate of change, I'm going to see how these are changing. Is going to be y over x, which in this case is going to be 4 over 1. So I'm going to have f of x, your rate of change comes first, plus your start, which is 3. Okay, same thing on number 2. I need a start. And I need a rate of change. All right, my start is when x is 0. So I'm going to have to go backwards. Okay, so I got to figure out what's happening. To get from here to here, I subtract 3, subtract 3, subtract 3. Over here, I'm adding 1, adding 1, adding 1. So my rate of change is negative 3 over 1, which simplifies to negative 3. My start is when x is 0. So I got to go the other way. So I'm going to add 3. That's going to give me 15. This would give me 18. So I'm going to have a negative 3x plus 18. All right, last guy. 55th term. I need the explicit formula. Which is a of n equals a1 plus d parentheses n minus 1. All right, my a1 is my first term, which in this case is 8. To find my difference, I'm going to do 24 minus 8 in the calculator, which gives me 16. All right, so when I write this in the explicit formula, I'm going to have a of n equals 8 plus 16 parentheses n minus 1. When I put this in my calculator, okay, if I want to find the 55th term, I'm going to substitute, and I'm going to have 8 plus 16 parentheses 55 minus 1. When you put that in your calculator, you should get 872.